It's not just Greenpeace protesters putting climate change at the centre of this election campaign. Both major parties have the common aim of lowering emissions, but the men selling their respective policies couldn't be more different. One is Australia's richest politician, the other a former rock star. Malcolm Turnbull serves as John Howard's Environment Minister, but they haven't always been allies. He made his estimated $100 million fortune as a lawyer and merchant banker before joining politics. Then, in a referendum 8 years ago, he led the fight to change Australia from a constitutional monarchy to a republic, but he lost thanks to John Howard's support for the monarchists.
He was the Prime Minister who broke this nation's heart.
Peter Garrett is the opposition Labor Party's environment spokesman. He's not only famous for his unique dance moves as lead singer of rock group Midnight Oil, but also his passionate views about conservation. Since joining the Labor Party, Mr Garrett's changed some of his views. He now supports uranium mining, pulp mills and American military bases in Australia. At the only debate between the two men, Peter Garrett was asked how he can sleep at night with all the compromises he's made.
When you join a political party, you accept that you're bound by party discipline. But to suggest in some ways it's a betrayal of the values that I have to be a Labor shadow minister, I think is stringing that bow just a little too far.
Peter Garrett has had a gaffe-riddled campaign and refused our requests for an interview. But Malcolm Turnbull was happy to explain their biggest policy difference, why his government won't sign the Kyoto Treaty.
Many of the countries that have ratified the protocol, of course, aren't going to meet their targets, but we will.
But what about the symbolism that is important, obviously, to a lot of Australian voters in that actual signing of it?
I think Australian voters are looking for substance.
Mr Turnbull wouldn't reveal if there's any substance to newspaper reports saying he wanted to ratify Kyoto but failed to convince John Howard. There are constant reminders for the PM about the melting polar ice caps. This one is outside his office.
There's no doubt climate change is a huge issue for Australians, but nobody's sure if it will be a vote-changing issue. If it is, then John Howard's time as Prime Minister will most certainly come to an end on Saturday. Dan Nolan, Al Jazeera, Sydney.